So it is absolutely shameful what is happening right now. The White House has become an arm of the Kremlin. Every single day you hear from the National Security Advisor, from the President of the United States, from his entire national security team, Kremlin talking points. For the last week, the White House has been pretending as if Ukraine started this war. That's essentially saying that Poland invaded Germany at the beginning of World War II. There are still facts in this world. And the fact is this: Vladimir Putin is a brutal dictator. Russia started this war. And the entire pretext for that meeting yesterday was an attempt to rewrite history in order to sign a deal with Putin that hands Putin Ukraine. That is disastrous for U.S. national security. That means that China will be on the march. Putin may not stop. America may be at war with a nuclear power. And for what? For what? It appears as if America is trying to align itself with dictators, that Donald Trump wants us to have our closest relationships with despots all around the world, because that makes it easier for him to transition America into a kleptocratic oligarchy where Elon Musk and Donald Trump rule and steal from the American people. If we were allied with democracies, that would be harder. But if the United States' closest partner is Russia, then it makes it a lot easier for Donald Trump, Elon, and their billionaire pals to steal from the American people, to steal our data, to steal our Medicare, to steal our Medicaid in order to enrich themselves. Listen, I have no problem with a diplomatic solution. What Zelensky asked, I thought very understandably in the White House, was a simple question. How are you going to trust Vladimir Putin when he has sat down at the negotiating table multiple times before and never honored the agreement? What Trump is suggesting is that there is going to be a ceasefire that will require Ukraine to withdraw from the front, which then allows Putin to just march straight into Ukraine. So all Zelensky asked yesterday was, how do you know that diplomacy will work? And because he had the audacity to ask that simple question, he was ushered out of the White House. Contracts were canceled to support Ukraine's electricity grid, and apparently the United States is going to do Putin's bidding and hand him Ukraine potentially without a negotiation now. Well, I can't speak to every conversation that Senator Graham had, but yes, I met with President Zelensky that morning, and President Zelensky was ready to sign that minerals agreement, no matter how insufficient it was, but had an obligation to have a conversation with the President of the United States about the disaster that would be wrought for Ukraine if they signed an agreement that didn't have Zelensky at the table and trusted Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin is not to be trusted. And so Zelensky had an obligation to raise that issue. And Vance seized on that moment to start a litany of Russia-baked talking points about how weak the Ukrainian army was, about how corrupt the nation is. The back half of that meeting ended up just being the Kremlin literally driving the message of the White House. It is a sad day in America when we are getting closer and closer to Russia, a brutal dictatorship, and we are getting further and further away from democratic allies. Nobody in America wants that. People in America want that war to end, but they don't want it to end by handing the entirety of Ukraine to Russia and elevating the power of a dictator in the Kremlin.